We're going to talk about how hard fought a game it was, and everything else. Like we said in the preview, Mississippi State was going to be playing with heavy hearts in the loss of Mike Leach. Illinois coach Brent Bielema, was friends with Coach Leach, so I know that was on his mind. And we talked about how the Illinois Final Illini were going to have different faces on their coaching staff. Coach Aaron Henry is our defensive coordinator without Coach Walters as he went on to Purdue. A couple position coaches have also left, and so Coach Bielema is filling a staff up. No Chase Brown, no Sidney Brown, no Luke Ford, no Witherspoon. So a couple of guys out. And how Illinois to get this win, or how could they get this win? And it was a hard fought game. At halftime, Illinois was winning 7-3. Illinois scores 3 points in the third, and then they say, Mississippi State scored 16 in the fourth, but that was just that weird scoop and score at the end, which they didn't have to do. They could have just fell down. That's kind of where that push and shoving came on. Overall aspect of this game was you saw two good defenses out there. Coach Zach Arnett has led Mississippi State, since he's been there, to good defenses, good tackling defenses. They're big, they're strong. And Illinois had the number one defense in the nation. And to not have Sidney Brown out there, to not have Witherspoon out there, I thought that the defensive players for both sides played strong, but for Illinois, they played fantastic. Aaron Henry showed that he kind of had a grasp on the defense, and you kind of saw little bits and pieces of, depending on recruiting and who they get, transfer portal stuff, what the defense could look like. What I mean by that is with Coach Walters, now I'd really have to go back. I'd really have to get film. Someone would have to send me film on Illinois to really sit down and see if this is for sure. But you would see a lot of man coverage throughout the year. You would still see some zone coverage, but Coach Walters loved to play his man defense. He loved to bring pressure, especially when you're playing that, I call a hybrid 3-4, but it's a 3-4, but you can get into 4-2-5 looks out of it. When they're bringing pressure, when they're doing stunts up front, they play man. They'll have help over the top. If it's a cover one, a robber, they're playing man underneath with a cover two in the back, just different things like that. But they play a lot of man. Tonight, or during the bowl game, you saw they were playing man at times, and that was giving some Mississippi State trouble in the air raid, and we'll get to them in a second. You saw a lot of different zone coverages. I don't think they were prepared for. They kept mixing it up pretty well. So I think just from watching one game with what he had now, you have some players that you're going to have to replace. I thought he did a pretty good job for his first time calling the defense, only having a couple weeks to prepare, after the departure of Coach Walters off to Purdue. So that was a plus. So I think you're going to see, they even talked about during the game, Illinois was able to run man coverage because of the players they have. If they recruit to those same type of players, this is what they want to do. But if not, they're going to play zone. But if they can mix it up, it's going to continue on. And that's credit to this coaching staff. That's credit to Coach Bielema, who Coach Bielema is known for being an offensive line guy. He's also known for being a defensive guy. So I said he was going to be on the headset helping Henry out. But Aaron Henry has played for Coach Bielema, has coached around him. And so I think he understands exactly what he wants. So this was just a good fit. To Mississippi State, one of the things I was very curious to see is how is the offense going to look without Coach Leach there calling it. They had Spurrier, son of legendary coach, calling the plays. Now, he hasn't been designated as the offensive coordinator. Coach Zach Arnett said there was other things going on where he was still calling the defense. He doesn't have a defensive coordinator. Doesn't really know who's going to be the offensive coordinator. He said those are things he will deal with after the game. So he was calling it. You saw a little bit more run plays. Now, some of those are from Will Rogers checking at the line of scrimmage. But I was very curious to see how those were going to be called. And you saw there were some struggles. They were still running air raid concepts. They're still running everything that Coach Leach would probably run in a game. But overall, you saw a little bit more run. I think I just want to make sure I don't lie to people. Mississippi State had 116 yards rushing on 22 attempts, which for a Mike Leach team, that's a lot. For an air raid team, they threw the ball 45 times. They had 5.3 yards per rush, 6.1 yards per completion. Will Rogers did throw 2 interceptions. So you saw more run out of them. I'm sure some were Spurrier maybe calling those, but Will Rogers this is credit to Coach Drew Piscopo. He is a high school coach. He followed everything that Coach Leach did. And on a video many, many years ago, I listened to him talk, and he said like their RPO type with Mike Leach is the quarterback's going to check the play. So Coach Leach calls a pass play. They come up and there's 4 or 5 guys in the box roll. The guy's going to check to a run, and that's their RPO. Maybe he comes up and calls a certain pass play, sees that's not the right coverage, checks it to a different one. So to him, that was RPO. So Will Rogers will check things at the line of scrimmage to be more run heavy. That'd be the only downfall, I think, is Illinois was giving up some yards there, but they're okay with it. They're okay with giving up yards and not the points. That bend, don't break type of mentality. So you still saw some air raid concepts, but one thing is to only score 19 or 13 points. They only had they had 1 touchdown pass, which I think, feel really bad for Mississippi State. I love Mike Leach. To me, that wasn't a touchdown. His heel touched the ground. You could see where it hit the ground. It came down and popped back up. It wasn't slightly. It popped down and hit the ground and came back up. So you could just tell, because Coach Leach is good at adjusting. He's not going to change routes, but he could tag routes. He could do some different things. He could really talk to Will Rogers and get them going because he's so immersed in the offense. So I think some of those tweaks and everything is what they were missing from Coach Leach. But all in all, they were doing things, but Illinois' defense is good. So it's not one of those things where, oh my gosh, there's just scored 30 points. Illinois, Coach Aaron Harry called a good game. Coach Bielema had them ready. The defensive guys were playing tough without some of their guys. So for Mississippi State, you saw the air raid stuff, and maybe that's a preview to what maybe he'll keep the staff around, and that's kind of what they do next year. I'll be curious to see. I don't know if they'll still stay full air raid. It all depends on what Coach Zach Arnett wants to do. If he wants to come out and be kind of quote unquote modern and do what people are doing and run the ball a little more and do those things, that may be what happens. And that could be it. For the Illinois side, going over some yardage here, they only had 288 yards of offense. 253 came from Tommy DeVito through the air. He was 23 of 34, 7.4 yards per pass. There was no interception from him. They only had 35 rush yards, which is not something you usually see, and that's where this was probably for 2 reasons. One, Mississippi State's defensive line is big. Their linebackers are big. They play at 3-3. So you try to run things, and they're very good at tackling up front. They're very big and physical. But you don't have Chase Brown. So when you don't have Chase Brown, you're not going to get some of these, these guys that didn't get a ton of reps there. But you have to correct Mississippi State's defensive line as well. 35 yards on 29 attempts, only 1.2 yards per attempt. They did fumble the ball once, and that was the only turnovers they had. So Illinois, not a humongous great game on offense, but they still would like to have some touchdowns. Tommy DeVito played well, in my opinion. So I said that in order for Illinois to move the ball around, he probably had to get more involved in the pass game without Chase Brown. When we look at individual, Reggie Love, the third, 12 carries for 53 yards. Now, part of that 35 yards is Tommy DeVito had negative. They count the sacks. But Reggie Love, the third, 53 yards rushing. Josh McCray had 17. I thought Reggie Love, the third, looked good, especially later on in the game when Illinois started to run the ball more with like a GT counter stuff, pin and pull stuff with a tight end attached. When you have a tight end attached with that 3-3, that's a good way to attack with an H-back, fullback, and a tight end in there, a wing, and pulling guys, getting down blocks. And so I thought running the ball was better in the second half. Again, throwing the ball, I thought Tommy DeVito played great. Isaiah Williams had 9 receptions for 114 yards. Casey Washington, 8 catches for 74 yards. Tommy DeVito even, they gave him 13 yards receiving. Yeah, that's kind of funny. So I just thought overall they had a great game. Will Rogers from Mississippi State was 29 of 44, 261 yards. He did have 2 touchdowns, but 2 interceptions, but that 1 touchdown, which I don't think was a touchdown. Again, we talked about the running backs. They spread the ball around to all the receivers. So there were still Mike Leach-esque things going on for them. So Illinois just missing some guys on offense. They should have capitalized more on some drives to get a touchdown. But, all in all, they both played tough. And if Illinois was going to lose to a team in a bowl game, I am perfectly okay that they lost to Mississippi State because they were really playing for Mike Leach. Here's a quote from Will Rogers saying, "I know Coach Leach would have been a little upset at some of the decisions, but we fought hard and stayed together as a team. He was with us all the way. He's been with me all the way. I really, really miss him." So they were really playing for him. Coach Bielema after the game said a defensive battle that just really probably came down to who had the ball last, who was able to execute. Unfortunately, we came up short. And then the season, um, Illinois lost five of its last games by 9 points or fewer. And the school hasn't had a 9-win season since the Rose Bowl team in 2007 when they went 9-4. He says this is going to be hopefully a springboard into bigger and better things. So they are looking forward to next season, heading into this, off season when they get into spring, and then they'll get into their summer workouts. So good things coming from Illinois. I thought they played tough. There's just offensively they couldn't capitalize. You need those running backs to step up. You need certain things to step up, but Mississippi State's defense was there. Where Illinois struggles is, I think if they have the pass game going and it's good, just something comes up short. You drop the pass, you give up a sack. There was just something there that kept happening. Running backs, again, I think they really did miss Chase Brown, but Chase Brown, I told people, I said this on another show, I'm worried about the amount of runs he takes, but he ran the ball a ton. Didn't give a lot of reps to, they didn't give a lot of reps to Reggie Love III or Josh McCray. Josh McCray was injured through most of the year. Reggie Love III came in and had some reps, but not a ton. But he looks fast. If he puts on, he's going to put on more muscle, he is going to look great next year. Tommy DeVito's last college game ever, the NCAA did not approve him to play another year, which I thought was a little strange. The Big Ten approved it, so why would the NCAA not approve it? But he'll be gone. He did a lot of things for Illinois, so we thank him as an Illinois nation to that. He's a good passer, and I think if he had one more year next year, we could really be a dangerous team, a very fast team, especially with him passing the ball. And I think with the wide receivers coming back, they were struggling a little bit, in my opinion, at the beginning of the year. And as the year went on, it's like I'm describing the Chicago Bears. They played much, much better as the year went on. So Illinois next year is going to have to look towards a quarterback, which they had the transfer quarterback come in. Then they're going to have to continue with their wide receivers to get some receivers in the recruiting class. Luke Altmaier transferred from Ole Miss. He was their backup quarterback. Tweeted that he was going to be going to Illinois. Altmaier has 3 years of eligibility remaining. He was a top 200 prospect according to 24/7 Sports rankings in the 2021 class. At the time of the commitment to Ole Miss, he was the number 8 quarterback. And he was the number 8 quarterback in the transfer portal, loaded with power. There's not a lot of film. He's only had a couple throws. But they think that he could fit in the temp pro, which Coach Bielema calls, and Coach Lonnie in their offense. So they had whatever little film they had. Talking to him, he was going to be coming in, so that's going to help address the quarterback situation for Illinois, and I'm sure they're going to get another quarterback before it's over. I think Reggie Love III is ready to step in, and Josh McCray being healthy as the running backs, and you have Isaiah Williams, Casey Washington, and all of them. So them all coming back and continuing to grow and getting a couple other wide receivers for offense is going to help. Defensively, you have some guys that are going to be gone. They're going to recruit. They're still going to be big. And if you saw some previews of some of the young guys that are going to come back, that bodes well. And then having a full year of Aaron Henry or full off season of him, continuing to grow as a defensive play caller and everything. So that's going to look good for Illinois. So congratulations to Mississippi State on their 9-win season, winning for Coach Leach. Like I said, Illinois, I'm okay with them losing to Mississippi State. There were, some things for Illinois is, this year was learning how to win, and, how do they learn how to win and keep winning. And so next year, now they have this taste. So next year, maybe they don't lose those 5 games. They win a couple more. They get put into that position. Like I said, I feel like they were a year ahead of time with what was going on. They're still coaching Coach Lovie Smith's recruits and doing those type of things. So the development of the coaching staff with the players was great. This game was a hard-fought game. Frustrating just because you felt that Illinois could have capitalized on some other things, on some of their drives. But overall, when it's a tough game like this, it's just going back and forth, good defenses, and their offenses still moving the ball, just not finishing. It was a fun game to watch. Mississippi State had the final drive to come down and kick a field goal, They gave him that touchdown because Illinois was doing the pass back and forth, and they scooped up and scored. So to really, it was 13-10, but it's 19-10. So Illinois ends the season at 8-5 as they head into their off season. We'll do another episode to really probably fully recap the whole season, go through their schedule from this year, talk about again about the quarterback transfer, and if there's more news that comes out about the recruiting and everything. So, congratulations to Illinois on 8-5 season. It was more than what people probably thought, and they're just going to continue. Coach Bielema's going to fill a staff, and it's going to be a tough Big Ten with everything going on. So that'd be a whole thing to talk about. And then again, congratulations to Mississippi State. That was for Mike Leach. And I hope they still have the Mike Leach stuff all over their uniforms and stuff next year. And I hope Washington State and Texas Tech kind of do the same thing. That will wrap up this episode of the Coach Steve Show again. Like and subscribe to YouTube channel. Follow and rate it. Apple and iTunes. Follow at Coach_70. At Coach_Steve72 on Twitter. All that good stuff. Leave a comment in the comment section down below. Thank you guys again for watching and or listening, and we will see you guys next time.